Okay, before I start working on the center console, the overhead console, and installing all the components that go up in there, I decided to put this is a sound deadener. It doesn't even have, it's a no-name brand, but it seems pretty nice. It sticks really well. It's not heavy like Dynamat, it's just like a lightweight foam. So, with a little reflective foil, which is nice. So, I've got that stuck in the roof now, so that's done and out of the way. And I can proceed with trying to install the rear view mirror first, see how that goes. All right, we're inside the Challenger looking at the inside of the windshield and the button that the rear view mirror attaches to. There's a little three-sided white metal clip that basically you just push the mirror on. That's kind of crazy because that's, I mean, you got to, taking it off is hazardous, I guess they don't care if when you're taking it off, you're usually taking it off of a broken windshield, but I don't know, putting it on, I guess they must have some kind of method of getting it on there just right. But anyway, as with everything, I was prepared to make an attachment like I did with the last car, and this is nothing like that. The last car had a set screw and something that's you could just slide the mirror down over a V-shaped piece of metal, and then you just tighten the set screw and you were done. No violent hammers or anything like that going on. At any rate, I have to make an adaptation to make this mirror buckle up to this other car. So I'll show you what I did there. Okay, so as you can see, the top side of the mirror had this white metal clip was attached in here with a single screw in the center. So that clip right there basically clipped onto that fixture that was on the back of the windshield. So here's that white metal clip. I've taken it and welded it to the back of a piece of 3/16 steel. Now, I had to do some clearance holes because this has some register studs here. I didn't want to cut them off, so this piece here will go back right onto the mirror like that, and I'll be able to fit that screw down in the center again and attach it through this white metal clip as designed. At any rate, these two holes here are what will fasten it to the roof of the car. So to disinstall this now, instead of trying to pull this off of this clip or pull the clip off the windshield, there'll just be two screws here. It looks bulky until you see the shield that they've come up with that covers this whole mess over here. So this basically, this fits down into here. There's a front piece also that covers the front half of this. But anyway, this piece goes on there, and this will be covered up inside there. And this will go up against the bottom side of the console, this angle right here. So that's what I'm up to. This is I bolt this to the mirror, then bolt this to the car. Make sure I got enough clearance here to get around here to run these two screws in properly, or else I'm gonna have to come up with something else. Anyway, that's where I'm at with that. All right, so this is what it looks like screwed up to the this top brace that normally carries the stock rearview mirror on a 69 or 70 Charger. And then, of course, the cover, the plastic cover, will work right up to here and to here. I'll show you that in a little bit. Okay, I hope you can see that. That's the plastic cover that covers up the all the mounting, the rough mounting stuff. It also covers that plate that I put in there. And I also, what I did here was I have a little return lip so that when you're screwed, it only screws in with two screws, that plate. So it's captured by a little J channel here so that when you screw the screws down, it stabilizes the whole thing. Normally, there would be three screws to put the rearview mirror in to stabilize it, like in a little triangle. But that's not the case here. I can only grab two screw holes, so I use this front plate as a capture, and then this piece here slides up, clips onto this housing here, and then this comes over the top and slips down over this and completes this cover here. This will have to be, this is the bottom edge of where the headliner will come to. So this eventually is going to have to get trimmed down a little bit so that it squeezes up into the headliner and kind of finishes that off. Anyway, that's what that kind of looks like. All right, with the mirror hung in there, it's time to move on to this center console map light assembly. And anyway, so the first thing I had to do is cut these ears off of this. These locate the little clips that hold the sun visors, but I'll relocate those later. At any rate, the first thing I had to do was create this this bracket here, just out of I cut some flat stock out of 70 thousandths steel, and then once it was shaped to this angle to go up over the housing, I put a little side piece on here and welded that on, and then painted them up. And this will attach to the second rib of the roof structure support, and this will attach to the front right around the mirror. So we'll see how that all fits up. All right, so that's what that looks like put up into place overhead. It's screwed into this rib, and then the front. I'll get those last two screws after I disassemble this rear view mirror, and it's pretty secure, so it's not going anywhere. Anyway, that's what that looks like. On to the next move. All right, in order to see how the third tail light is going to fit in here, I had to come up with a simulation of the rear glass. So I got the rear glass back out, and I bent these aluminum pieces to the top surface of the glass, and then I used these pieces to put a piece of 3/16 Lexan to the bottom side, pop riveted them with countersunk rivets, and also I added a piece of 3/16 plastic here that would simulate the bedding that's got to go in here that'll space this up. Now it's a little bit longer than the glass would be because I just needed it to fit as a jig correctly, squared up in the bed. Anyway, this gives me an idea how that third tail light is going to interact with this glass here without having to fool around with the actual glass. You know, clunking around inside here, you know, it's easy to damage things. So best thing to do is create a substitute that's adequate and keep that glass out of harm's way as much as possible. The other thing I wanted to show you is that in order to find the center line here, pretty easy here, and you just measure between these 2 points here to find that. And also we've got the center line here, but to connect the dots, it's an old trick. This is just a packing strapping that you would see come in strapped on a pallet or something like that. It's like a white metal almost, and it's great as a flexible straight edge because it won't have a tendency to bend in the side-to-side direction, but it's plenty flexible for laying it up on the roof here and getting that, connecting the dots between here, and then projecting that line out so that I can center up this piece of faux glass, if you will, and that'll help me put everything in its proper location, and also give me my center line for where my overhead console's got to go. All right, so in addition to cutting some clearance holes here, a centering hole here, I put this whole piece in here to correct the angle of the lens so that it seals against the bottom here, the little rubber perimeter flange around the light. And so this basically just corrects that, rolls it up into the glass properly. And then this square over here, hopefully there's another piece that fits over and through it. It has a little clip that holds it into place right in this little square hole that I've made. And we'll see how that all works together in a minute here. Okay, it's a little hard to see here from the inside, but you see this matches the angle of the glass now. So we went ahead and put some screws in this instead of the clips that normally would hold it in. These are little white metal clips, and sometimes these plastic parts, they're not meant to come in and out a bunch of times, and they get a little bit brittle. So since I got to assemble and disassemble this stuff a bunch of times, anytime I could substitute with a couple of screws, give a positive connection and be done with it, this way I don't have to risk breaking the plastic part. All right, so we finally got this cover here that fits on with these three. They're blind fasteners, and then these nuts here basically used to go through the headliner on the other car, and they'll go through the center section of the new console here. So this basically goes up through here and there, and then in the front, there's another hole up front, and that puts that cover up there. Anyway, the only thing I have to figure out is the antenna is way up here, and if you ever want to service it, this is no good as far as getting to it, you know, up behind here. So I may have to make the entire center panel of this removable. I just made a small little door on the last project, which I wasn't 100% happy with the way that looked. Not that you could see it, everything was black, but I'm going to try and see if we can't do something a little different here to be able to access that antenna, which will be located somewhere in this vicinity right here. At any rate, let's keep on going here. All right, so the next thing I had to do is make the sides of the console that attach to the roof structure, basically carry everything in the center here. And so what this is an inch down, this is an inch and 1/8 out, and then it's a 1/4 inch back. The reason that I put the safety edge on this is because this panel will be wrapped in fabric, and we don't want it to catch on a raw edge, sheet metal edge here. So if this was raw, it'd be a problem of the fabric catching and not being able to go into the slot that's going to be created here for that side panel to go into. Anyway, that's the beginning of it. On to the next step, which will be just the centerpiece here. Anyway, in order to make sure that this fits in neatly and flush, basically stepping it using these pneumatic steppers. Basically, they just slide in on the sheet metal right here and slide them along and create a little step, and that way your sheet metal, you have a little step here for your sheet metal to lay in, and then when you weld it up and grind it off, it's flush. All right, so the next piece I'm developing is this bottom cap for the bottom of the majority of the console from front to rear. What I've had to do is, what I want to end up with is an 1 3/8 material from the top of the top of the flange on the roof to the bottom. So I've put a piece of 3/4, then a 1/2, and then an 1/8 to create that, so that I could use that as a guide, project my arc down across there, and get that same profile. Now, what I've done here, this is 5/8 of an inch. There's already an inch of material up in the car, so I want to end up with a 3/8 additional rim, and I've got a 1/4 inch here step, so this will slide in 1/4 of an inch, and that means that the inch down to here plus 3/8 will give me my 1 3/8 total profile. This is nice to do, just in case you want to. This is not going to be subject to any kind of water or anything like that. It's interior part of the car, so it's really nice and easy to just be able, instead of trying to butt weld things, is to just be able to, lay another piece of sheet metal over here with a nice firm backing and tack it every 1.5 inches or so. And it's an easy way to assemble things where you don't have to worry about moisture. Anyway, this little step here, by the way, I used these pneumatic air steppers right here, which I've modified to give just a 1/4 inch little step right there. Just put it on the sheet metal and give it a pull, and then it creates that little step there. All right, so this is what I'm trying to develop now. We've got this back cover that covers the wiring and everything for the rear tail light. And normally this piece is through bolt. It's got these little stamped steel nuts here, go onto these plastic studs. And that holds this piece to the headliner. And if you want to service anything in the back roof, you pretty much just got to yank these three pieces out here, these three clips, out of the roof of the car, pull it down, pull the whole rear headliner down to get in top there to get to any of this wiring. Or this doesn't necessarily come off very easily because, like I said, it's through bolted. So you have to take these nuts off the back side here in order to get this piece out of your way if need be. Now your antenna is way up here, so I can imagine that's not an easy thing to work on by just pulling down on your rear headliner. At any rate, we're just trying to solve another problem altogether by utilizing what's here. So we have these three clip studs. So this already, I've got this to where this will clip up into the roof. So I'm basically looking to extend this panel to make it look like this panel is larger. So what I'm developing is a paper pattern right now, which will, in effect, make this panel longer. So this will be blacked out just like this, the rest of this panel here when I'm done, but it'll be made out of steel. And hopefully, if everything goes right, then this will just be clipped up onto the center of the center of the console with these three blind fasteners, and that'll be the solution for being able to pull this down and get to any of the wiring or the antenna, which is up in this area over here. We'll see how it looks. We'll see how it works out. Okay, so I've got quite a bit more work to do to this, but basically this is the idea. This whole cover will be one piece. Right now it's just snapped up in there with those three blind fasteners, and there's lots more to do. I've got to create sides for it, stiffen up these edges so everything aligns a little bit better than that, and so we'll go on from there, see how it all works out. Okay, so here's what I got so far. I put some sides on it to stiffen it up so that it would maintain the shape and flow into the other piece. It's attached to this right now, just with these capture nuts over here. And I also added to the back edge over here this little lip here to both strengthen it and stiffen it and straighten it out because it was just sheet metal. So I put a C-channel on there and added some Velcro strips here. And what'll happen there is I'm going to put this counter ledge in the other piece also to straighten the back edge of the console that's up in the car already and give this someplace to land. Now, whether or not I end up using the Velcro or not, what happens is right now you can pull this down really easily if you can grip it from the sides, which you really can't grip it now because these sides are in the way. So you'll have to pry it. If you need to get it off, it'll have to be pried from the front edge, in which case it needs something to bear against on the back edge in order to, for it to have a countervailing leverage here. So anyway, we're going to see if that works or if it all just blows apart on me. But, playing with fire, keep taking apart this plastic thing, and I'm afraid I'm going to strip out these. These are only meant to come apart maybe once in their lifetime because they're steel on plastic. Anyway, so far so good. Okay, so that's what it looks like snapped up into place. I left it gapped 1/8 of an inch on either side to allow for fabric wrap, but that's what it's looking like so far. Anyway, more to go. All right, we got a real tricky situation here as far as blending this all out up the front and tapering it down to practically nothing. But ultimately what I'd like to do is I'd like to have this panel be as complete as possible. So that means that this plastic cover that covers up the mounting on the rearview mirror has to be trimmed down So what I've done is I've created this panel, which is right now just relief cut around this piece. And I'm going to mark this out at this level so that the two plastic pieces, this piece and this piece in the front over here, can be trimmed. And that way, when I put this panel in, I can put these cover pieces on over top of this panel. This panel will be underneath both of these pieces instead of like I've got it right now, which is around these two pieces. Obviously, that wouldn't work. At any rate, that's what I'm up to here. I've got it marked out with yellow tape so I can see the line, and I can cut it off, and this basically creates that plane. All right, that's where I'm at. Okay, so I've filled in the sheet metal around the front compartment up there that has the holds the glasses and also has the map lights and all that good stuff. I've got to move on to reinstalling the mirror and finishing out the pod that covers up all the installation stuff and connections. And then I have to add a 5/8 material to the side of this whole thing in order to create that groove on the top that the rest of the headliner will slip into. But anyway, that's just the point I'm at right now. Just time to move on to the next thing. Okay, the final piece of the puzzle here, as far as this all fitting up this around this rearview mirror assembly, is this pod here that covers the attachment point. And so that does pretty much what I wanted it to do. I will have to figure out a way to get a fastener in somewhere in this neighborhood here, because this used to snap in and the attachments up the top beyond this point are no longer there. So, you know, this is fit pretty good right now, but over time this will just pop right off. So I've got to get something like a little screw or something up inside there. It's a little difficult around the mirror, but we'll figure something out. At any rate, moving on to the next deal. Okay, if you saw my last build, I did this stuff, this feature, using a plastic material that is no longer available, as usual. So I'm deciding to just go ahead and use a 5/8 dense particle board. So it holds together and it's able to be machined. And this edge rounded over with a router. This is the dense stuff they use for countertop. It's super smooth. At any rate, I'll show you what this is all about. And that would be the sides of this console, this overhead console. I'm adding this piece to the side, and you can see that it creates a groove up above this piece, and that's where the side headliners slip into. And this piece is naturally for the back half of this. I'm doing it in two halves because it's a little bit easier to handle, especially with all these details here, trying to fit in where the half round is going to end up, not getting it too tight to where I won't be able to actually install this once it's wrapped with fabric. So lots to consider there. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you what I'm up to. Okay, hopefully you can see what's going on here. Finish the side attachments here and all the way down to the back there, and now has a groove along the top side there in order to take in the side panels for the rest of the headliner. I've got a lot of little doodads left to do. I have to do a bolt embedment or nut embedment back here for the rear seat belts. I've got the panic bars that have to be installed over here, and also I have the clothes hanger rods over there, or little hooks that have to be installed in the back. I have to run the wiring around the perimeter here so that I have a nice chase for it and make sure everything's running freely. And I also have to install the sun visors. I have to do all of that before I can get ready to start these field panels. Anyway, on to the next thing. All right, so these are the nut plates that are in the sail panel of the Challenger that hold the seat belts in the rear at the top of the sail panel here. So I'm gonna see if I can't get them uninstalled from here and reinstall them in the Charger. All right, so I've retrieved this part of the plate, and the idea here is going to be try and get this thing slipped up on the back side of this support structure here, so that you know, instead of just trying to weld it on the outside, which in that case it would probably be okay, but if I get it on the back side, then when there's any tension put onto this bolt point, it wants to pull on the whole C-post rather than just the plate itself. So that's what I'm going to be trying to do next. Okay, so I've got these rear seat belt mounting plates up in the C-pillars on both sides. Managed to sneak them up back there and plug weld them through this plate. So that's good to go. Put these little clothes hangers in here, and got to probably boost them out just a little bit more to make them even with the arc of this side here, but for now it's just mounted up there on either side. Got the receiver plate for the panic grab hold up here over top of the window mounted. This time I did it a little different than the last time. I was able to take the entire plate because I have this starter plate here that shows me exactly where this is going to lay. I was able to make this little back brace here and screw this directly into this structure here. So that's good to go right there. And then the everything basically just be clearance holes for these two little stubs here, and then the strap will go across here once the headliner is mounted. Haven't gotten to these sun visors yet, or the wiring going around the windshield. That'll be the next two items. But that's going to be it for this week, and I appreciate everybody for watching. And next week will be a little bit of a short week because I have to travel next weekend for family business. And at any rate, so I might be posting a little early next week, maybe Thursday night. I appreciate everybody for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.